something cool. I mean, it's really, really, really a warm day here in the city of Manchester. How are you all doing today? We'll just give a few minutes for some other. I don't know what the temperature is like where you are, but you might want to grab a pen, get comfortable. We're going to be talking about today, and I am looking forward to sharing that with you. Yep. I noticed. So there, it looks like there's been some updates. I noticed. So there, it looks like there's been some updates on YouTube um, regarding sharing the link and all of that. So I'm just trying to navigate that and make sure that I do it correctly. I do it correctly. I'm just figuring out all of the changes. So, yep. I know you can hear me. Yeah, you can just put an emoji in the comments or put a comment in, say hi when you join. Lighting is good, audio is good. So let's jump right in. Before we start today's session, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has been supporting us, contributing, praying for us, reposting, sharing the link and all the information, excuse me, for our women's well-being and community gathering starting in it's going to be a seasonal a seasonal gathering, but the very first one is kicking off for our second anniversary on the 25th of July. Our actual anniversary date is the 18th of July, 19th of July. However, the event is on the 25th. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone. Over the past week, since I gave the last update, so many things have come on. The tickets are going really quickly. It's a completely free event, but registration is required on Eventbrite. And so those have been going really quickly. We have a capacity of 30 and more than half of them are already gone. So thank you to everyone. So if you haven't shared this link to a woman in your life, do that. I will put everything in the comments, or you can also go to our social media on Instagram. You get all the latest details. Also, we set up a crowdfunding page for our event, and the all of the resources that we are putting towards this will go for providing the faith and well-being books for the women, and a few gifts and just to make the day nice and some refreshments because we're going to be there for 3 hours. So everything is explained in detail on our crowdfunding page. So I want to say thank you to everyone that has shared, that has contributed, and that is praying for us and sharing this on your platforms. We are 25th of June was actually 1 month to the event. So today is 27th. So I think we are roughly 28 days to the D-Day. So it's all good. It's going to be a wonderful day. We're going to be talking about friendships on topics, I beg your pardon, on friendships, well-being, mental well-being, and life changes, because life changes every day, but what matters most is how you handle it, and that is influenced by who you're surrounded by. Many times we just go through life and we don't seek for new connections to help us go through our life seasons. Believe it or not, like it or not, you're not the same person that you were 2 years ago. And if you're not growing, then you are diminishing. So you need to make a deliberate effort to surround yourself and to be the kind of person that gives people a soft landing, an opportunity to thrive and to be themselves. So friendship is big on Jewels of Faith Heart. If you haven't seen our first anniversary video, please watch it. I talk extensively about the foundation of the vision and how it all ties into relationships and how where we are working towards, really God is leading us in that direction. And no matter how individualistic the society seems to have become today, it's impossible for you to exist on your own, and you always need a community of people around you. Now, are they the right people? Those are part of the things that we're going to be looking into in today's topic. I titled it Acts of Friendship. I'm not, it's going to be probably going to be a series. And I started nursing this thought a few years ago, and the inspiration came from studying the Bible, as all of my inspiration comes from, most of it actually, and reading the book of Acts of the Apostles. And one of the things I got to see was the friendship and the connection, and how that enabled them to live out the lives and set the pace for the faith after Jesus, for the faith that we now profess. The responsibility of propagating the gospel rested on them, and the quality of their relationships determined how far that was going to go. And whether you like it or not, the responsibility of propagating the gospel rests on you today. And also, the quality of the relationships you have are going to impact on how far you're going to be able to do that, how well and how intently you're going to actually be able to live out your purpose. Do you actually know why you're here? Is what you're pursuing in line with what God is pursuing? One of the things I've been meditating on over the past week and praying about is, oh, this is a better lighting. I thought I opened my curtain. Yeah, is this nice? I don't want to get distracted now. So one of the things I've been meditating about, asking God, am I doing, what are you doing today? What do you want to do today? Hello, good morning, Shaggy. Oh, thanks for joining. Good morning. Yeah, so one of the things I've been asking, what God, what are you doing today? And how can I align myself to do what you're doing today? People get involved in doing so many things. Sometimes it might be even very profound, but it might be completely outside of why they are here in the first instance, or outside of what God is doing in the moment. And you want to move at God's rhythm, you want to move at God's pace. So the relationships that you surround yourself with there's no way you can move at God's pace if you're not in the right relationships, honestly. So acts of friendship, that's what this is titled, and it will probably be a series. It is going to be a series because I've been brooding on this thought for years and writing different things about it, but I want to share this perspective with you, ask you a few questions, and give you time to reflect on your journey, your connections, who you are as a person, the kind of connection and the kind of space that you create for others. People are big on saying friends this, friends that, but are you actually the kind of friend that you want to have? I know this is a very difficult question to answer, and I would encourage you to sit in your own time and answer that question yourself. Are you actually the kind of friend that you want to have? It's easy to say people do this and that, but do you? Was it 2 days ago? Yes, yeah, 2 days ago actually. Yeah, Apostle Selman's birthday. He was like, people can't sit down and trash other people's relationships and marriages and expect to have a good one. There are some people that are used to pointing out faults. So are you used to pointing out the mistakes of people in your life, but you never look inwardly? It goes both ways. So apart from assessing the quality of relationships that are connected to you, what do people experience by being connected to you? And so we're going to look into that. So acts of friendship. There were so many acts of friendship in the books of Acts of the Apostles. I'm not taking it study by study, but I'm just doing like an intro and give you something to think about, and then point out one key attribute at the end of it all, and then we'll close for today. So I'm looking to keep this about an hour because I've just spent 10 minutes in introduction. Okay. So I find Acts of the Apostles particularly profound because these are the exploits of Jesus' own friends after the resurrection. So that's basically us today. Yes. I began doing this study some years ago. I've already said that. And I started to reevaluate, and I started to reassess, learning, of course, from places I felt that I had fallen short. Where I could get feedback, I tried to get feedback. Where I could see clearly that we're no longer on the same trajectory, we just went our separate ways. Not in bad faith, but just knowing that has come to an end. That also comes with being in alignment with God, because when you start being in alignment with God, you start to see what connections you should have and you shouldn't have, and it doesn't have to end in a bad note. You just have to respect each other's mutual journey because we're all here separately. So, where I could have done better, what I should not have tolerated, where I should improve as a person, where I need to withdraw, where I need to take the hint, all that reflection came from reading the Acts of the Apostles, all of that. So there are so many lessons we can apply. So I want to ask you a few questions. I said this was going to really be reflective. So if you want to write down, you can watch this over and over again. I want you to think about it. Look into your friendships. How many of them build you and how many of them drain you? How many of them do you leave when you spend time or when you speak feeling energized, or do you feel exhausted? And do you feel like you need 10 business days to recuperate? Ask yourself that question. And the next is, are you united by a shared distant past, an anticipated future, or both? Um, it can be both. It can be one or the other. Ask yourself those questions. There has to be a balance of all of that. Are you the only one pouring into the friendship? Do you want it more than the other person? There's nothing particularly wrong in putting your intentions out there. We're going to talk about intentionality in a bit. But you also want to put yourself in a place where you are wanted and where your gifts are celebrated and acknowledged, where you are called higher, not where you are put down or made to feel like a nuisance, because you are not a nuisance. God loves you particularly. God loves you deliberately. God is passionate about you. God is rejoicing over you with singing. So on no account should anyone tolerate you. Do you feel, are you the only one reaching out and making plans consistently ever since? I'm not talking about periods of time. There are some times it's never 50-50. There are some times it will lean one way or another. There's got to be a middle ground. Or are you looking at it and you're realizing that you are the middle ground? There's no middle ground. It's something for you to think about. Do you feel guilty or cautious sharing your wins? Are your celebrations downplayed? When something good happens to you, do you feel guilty talking about it? Do you feel like you need to hold back? Or even when you do not hold back, is it say, yeah, what's the big deal? Forget about that. And all of a sudden the celebration is taken out of your mouth. Do you have those experiences? Another question for you is, do you feel judged when you share your challenges? Are your trials and your pain exaggerated? Is it when you say, "Oh, this is what you're experiencing," like a struggle, and it's made like the biggest struggle ever, and even when you try to move on from it, but oh, do you remember when you were struggling? Do you? Ask yourself all of these questions and look at the connections that you have and see where they are leaning towards. I'm not going to tell you what they mean. I'm going to let you do that evaluation yourself, because it's an evaluation that you have to be deliberate about. Excuse me. It's such a warm day. I almost never drink fizzy drinks, but here I am having some Schweppes. Okay. So think on those questions. Think on them. You can even get a sheet of paper, outline them, write the questions. Yes, no, yes, no. If you have more yes, then you need to shake up that circle and do a self-evaluation and know why what you're doing that is making that happen. Or maybe what you're not noticing, or what you are not doing. And like I said, I did to myself a couple of years ago. So over the course of our lives, we learn and we keep learning. That's the essence of being alive. It's a learning curve. The moment you stop learning, you start forgetting. So there always has to be something, you're learning. And this is something that I started to learn again. And I believe that every one of us, as far as we're on this earth, we would need to learn again. And who better to take the cue from the scriptures, right? So one of the things I've realized in my life, and many of us might make this mistake, you could put in a comment. We use the word friend very loosely, and we don't take time to actually understand what exactly is a friend? Like, I'm not going to define it, but looking from scriptures, when Jesus was talking and he was like, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends, because if you do what the Father says, I call you my friends. Like, it's clear and simple, like the same purpose and the same connection. But I think in the over the course of my life, before I did this reevaluation a few years ago, it was almost like a situation of probably shared paths, mostly shared paths, or maybe just having a good time. And quite frankly, I was more interested in that instead of anything regarding like purpose, all of that. So it's not like blame, it's just doing that reevaluation, because when situations arise and you look at the quality of the connections that you have a role to play in that. So a person can be, I'm going to do a quick definition, reading of a few definitions, but we are often in the habit of calling our colleagues, associates, acquaintances, allies, we're often in the habit of calling them friends. And that is not correct. They all mean different things. And when we are not able to categorize properly, it just goes on to say that we're not really sure of where we're going. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you need to go to that place to get to this place. It's more of coming to a reawakening and say, okay, I need to, first of all, know where I'm going so that I can know who's coming with me or who is not. It doesn't make anyone a bad person. It just means that you are aligning yourself according to the scripture, the way that the apostles, because now we are the acts of the apostles. Yeah. It's not, when you're reading, all of the stuff, the miracles, is for us to do. But we are not going to be able to do that if we don't align properly. They were able to do that because they aligned. I'm going to read the verse that spoke to me. Did I leave my Bible far away? Anyway, don't worry. So, right, I'm going to quick definitions very quickly. An acquaintance is someone you know by name or through occasional interaction with little knowledge or emotional connection. So if there's no emotional connection, there's no someone you just know, there's no need calling that person a friend and expecting them to fulfill the role of a friend. There is this song I know it says, make new friends and keep the old. One is silver and the other gold. That the one that is silver or gold is left for you to decide which one. When you call silver gold and gold silver, you'll be in trouble. But that comes with not knowing exactly where you're going. So the second category is contacts. This is someone whose information you have for networking or practical reasons. Sometimes we can get carried away and start saying these are your friends. They might not really be. So associates, someone you know, someone you interact with because of a common interest, activity, or purpose. No deep personal attachment. You can find many of these in the church, actually. Lots of people you interact with, you know them in church, you all come to worship God. One of the things I got to learn really quickly when I fell afresh in love with Jesus and took my relationship with him as priority, I used to, because of this overwhelming passion and love in my heart, I was like, if I see anybody that was passionate about God, I love God, I thought, we could be friends. We love this Jesus. But no, for the fact that they love Jesus doesn't mean that they might be your friends. As a matter of fact, it just doesn't mean that. There's no other way for me to put it. Because if you check even in the Bible, even though Paul was writing to all believers, they still had their own company. So if you're in that situation thinking, oh yeah, it's all kumbaya, we all love Jesus, no. So moving on. So associates, you can find a lot of that in church, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have the same purpose. We all want to serve the Lord. We all love Jesus, but it doesn't make them your friends, especially when there's no emotional connection or deep personal attachment. Could be in the same small group, could be doing the same, we could be in the same circles. It doesn't make them your friend. A colleague or a peer, someone you work with or someone, you share experiences with, perhaps maybe in the same field or An ally is someone that supports you. This could be like a mentor or or an associate, really, or somebody that teaches you. It doesn't mean that they're your friends. They support your cause. They support what you do. You can have a lot of people that support your faith. It doesn't mean that they are Christians. So that's an example. So someone can support you in your endeavors and the things that you do. It doesn't make them your friends. A companion is someone you regularly spend time with or who accompanies you, often sharing experiences or journeys. The person could be your companion. Now one person could be more than one of these things. Obviously, they could intersect at some point. But I'm just drawing out the distinctions and how we often just throw the word friend as a blanket definition to anyone that we have a positive interaction with. And that is not the truth. Oh, I'm just seeing the first comment now, actually. I don't think they have been coming in, and this is my first comment I'm seeing. So, friends, now, what is it? Someone with whom you share mutual affection, trust, care, personal connection. A trusted person. So, a friend could develop into a confidant, and that is a trusted person with whom you share private thoughts, struggles, or secrets with. So these are all of these things that I want you to think about. What contact have you turned to a confidant and you're expecting the same level of reciprocity from that contact, and the person is like, no, I'm just an ally, and you're wondering why not? Knowing who you are, we've done many videos on that, and it would always be a recurring part of the sessions that we hold. Excuse me, but knowing who you are, your purpose, is the foundation for forming intentional friendships. If we go back to our inspiration from the book of Acts, they knew who they were. They had spent time with Jesus. They were given instructions, by Jesus. They knew, and now they okay. We have to stay together. So they were not doubting. They weren't sure what they were not unsure of what they were on this earth to do. At that point in time, they knew what they had to do. So they're okay, for us to be able to do this, we need to stick together. So if you don't know who you are, you're going to be in the wrong friendships. You're going to be chasing after the wrong people. Now, does it mean that they cannot be your contacts? No, they can be your contacts. They can be your allies. They can be your colleagues, peers. But if that vision and that direction of your life and destiny is not clear to you, there will be a mismatch and it will end in tears. Okay, maybe not tears, but it never ends well. Like, friendship heartbreaks are so difficult. I've experienced some, and I've probably been on the other side of breaking someone's heart. It's never easy. As a matter of fact, it might even be worse than a romantic breakup. That's what some people say, but I think so too in some regards. So it's important that you get this right, just to save yourself any pain and stress that might arise from making the wrong connections because you don't know who you are or where you're going. Is it Backstreet Boys now that has that? This is not you can't, in your life, you can't start, I don't care who you are, where you're from, as long as you love me. No, you can't do that. That's why a vertical connection is more secure than the horizontal connection. Absolutely. Because thank you so much. Because being connected to God will show you more about who you are, and then you know what you need in a friendship and what you should give in a friendship, because it goes both ways. Yeah, so your life is not I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do, as long as you love me. No. You are important to God. And you should treat yourself as someone that is important to God. So I find that many people are not intentional about their friendships. I definitely was not really that intentional. Not necessarily after you shouldn't wait until it has lasted so long. Of course, you are allowed to evolve, but from the beginning, you should start with being intentional. And that is the first thing that I'm going to talk about. So just give me a second and grab this book. And that's a special book, the Bible. So if you're using our case study, Acts of the Apostles, they are really, really intentional. I'm going to read chapter 1, verse 14. I'm not going to mention the name of everyone, but they mentioned all of the friends' names. It says, these all continued with one accord in prayer and supplication. Some versions say one purpose and one mind. There was a purpose. There was one mind. They were just there vibing. And you need to be intentional in your friendships. They were intentional about being in friendship with each other. You know what it takes to be crowded with so many people? It doesn't matter. As far as we know our purpose, we know what we want to do, we are all going to be here. Many times we just dabble into it. I've talked about that in the beginning. I don't want to repeat. Now we're focusing on intentionality. What does it mean? Deliberately with purpose, thoughts and clear intention rather than an accident or a habit. Think about the relationships that you have. Most times you just find out that it's a habit or an accident. I'm not saying that intentional friendships cannot develop from that. It definitely can. It's not a one size fits all. But many times we just treat our relationships and connections as an afterthought and expect the results that come from being intentional, as we see in Acts of the Apostles. It's not going to work. You need to be intentional. All through, intentionality is a theme that we can see in the relationships and the connections. And think of yourself as one of the apostles. You're charged now to represent God on earth. They were charged to represent what they had learned from Jesus and to live it out. And they were intentional about it. There was that purpose. So that is the number one purpose of every one of us. How that can display itself in our work, in our ministry, in our business, it will be different. But that one purpose. So are you forming friendships based on that one purpose? To be the beacon of light, to be the light of the world, to align with God's purpose on earth? Or is it for something else? So they were intentional, one purpose, one mind. So a question for you, are your friendships aligned to your destination? You can only know this if you actually know where your destination is. I know you say our destination is heaven. Yeah, but all the while before you get there, you're supposed to bring as many people as you can with you. Are your friendships thinking the same thing? Are they using their gifts, talents, and time to do everything that they need to do to achieve that one purpose? Thinking about this a bit more, they were praying with one mind. And one of the things that came to my mind was being in different prayer groups and all of that. And one of the things I got to realize is that sometimes you might be in a prayer group and you're praying and sometimes, and at the end of the day, I had this experience, okay, praying and praying and praying. And eventually, we start getting answers to our prayers. What I got to realize was as the answers started coming, the originator, let me put it that way, of the prayer group was getting a bit more withdrawn from the prayer. So I'm like, okay, now we're seeing our answers coming. Shouldn't we fire down? But what I got to learn from that was that it was not with one mind. So you can actually be praying with somebody, doing it, but all of the while, they are not wanting that same purpose. They're only wanting their own benefit. And that's something that we don't see here in the Acts of the Apostles. They wanted everything for that purpose, for the agenda. That is what it is. So being intentional is not just I'm intentional. You're intentional. Be intentional about yourself. Obviously, take care of yourself. But in your relationships, if when that purpose is established, are you intentional? Like, is it with thought, with clarity, or do you just is it based on an accident or a habit? Oh, we'll talk whenever, we'll pray whenever. I'll pray for them whenever. Is it like that? You're not going to be able to get to your destination. Not to talk more of bring anybody with you. So think about this. It wasn't just about a good time for them, or they were not just praying because they wanted to look good. It was not just for the fun of it. As a matter of fact, if you're in a prayer group and it's not with one mind, you might as well disband it or excuse yourself. Because imagine if everyone was praying and some people were praying and some people were like, thinking that the Holy Ghost wouldn't come, or they were not, or they were playing, I hope he comes on just me or something. Anyway, you're gonna have to excuse me. I need to keep drinking something. It's so warm. So it was for the purpose, and that was what they valued the most. So think about your life. What do you value most in life? If you align yourself with a close friendship that devalues what you value most, you're not going to be going to your destination. As a matter of fact, it will deter you, because it's a different thing. Yes, you can have different things that you value. But at no point in time should I downgrade what you value in a bid to make what I value more superior to yours. I talked about that at the beginning. If you're just joining, just want to watch it again from the beginning, there are some key questions I asked for you to reassess what goes on in the connections and the relationships that you find yourself in, how you come across as well to the people that are connected to you. So dig down to the core of your being. What is your assignment and your mission on earth? This should be the basis of forming friendships. Not a good time, not a good laugh, not trips, not nice pictures, but what you are called to do. That is your priority. And once you know who you are, you know what God has called you to do, you walk with God, then you will be in a place where you walk step by step with God, and your friendships would propel you towards achieving what you are made for. You're not made here to just have companions, have a good time. No. Now, just to let you off the hook a little bit, one thing I want you to know is, which you already do know, and you're wondering, how can I be all of these things to all people? No, you are not the same friend to everyone. And it's okay. Jesus was not the same friend to everyone. Jesus had different friends. But we're taking these lessons from the Acts of the Apostles now. So even though I'll be referencing Jesus' own friendship journey, because they are his friends, so clearly they learn from the best. But you are not the same friend to everyone, and that's okay. We can't be the same friend to everyone. The beauty of the versatility of friendships is that we experience different aspects of ourselves with different people. And this can be done sincerely and intentionally. Yes. So we will experience our friends differently as well. And a healthy understanding of these distinctions that are outlined at the beginning between understanding your contacts, your associates, your colleagues, your peers, your companions, your allies, a healthy understanding of these distinctions helps us set appropriate expectations and boundaries. So, for example, a colleague is not automatically a friend, but a colleague can become a friend. An acquaintance is not necessarily an ally. Someone you know might not necessarily support what you're doing. They might actually be against what you stand for, but that doesn't mean that they're not an acquaintance. A true friend, however, not in all cases, often becomes a trusted confidant. So you might not be able to confide in them in all things, but in some aspect, a true friend often graduates and becomes a confidant. And if you're lucky to have a friend that you can tell anything. So In the Acts of the Apostles, they were so intentional. They didn't just choose who they liked. If you read further down in chapter 2, where they were trying to replace Judas. So sometimes when we move to a new city, a new country, you love your friends that are no longer with you, but you want to make new friends. And sometimes you just say, oh, I like that person. I'm just going to be their friend and just head with it. And many times it's not thought through and you get what you get, or you yourself are not ready for that transition and you don't give your best and you end up hurting someone else. If we look at the lives of Acts of the Apostles, we are still talking about intentionality in friendships, intentionality. And I'm going to repeat that: deliberately with purpose, thought, and clear intention rather than an accident or a habit. So it's not because you're in the same school, it's not because you're in the same streets. No, like intentionally. So what they did here, obviously they liked Matthias and Barsabbas, and they prayed to God. And one of the things they said in the prayer that really stood out to me, they were like, God, you know the hearts of everyone. When we like someone, in any, maybe a friend or any kind of, let me say a friend, because we're talking about friendship, even if it's going to be romantic, it's going to start from friendship. Anyway, many times we don't actually ask God what God thinks. And we just say, oh, they look good. I shared this many times at the very initial part of starting Jaws of Faith. I was a lot not confident enough to come online, like this and make videos. And I was trying to look for support and all of that. And then I started looking at people that I liked. I was like, oh, maybe we could do this together. But yeah, I would do stuff with people, but that wasn't what God asked me to do at that time. God wanted us to come online and do it, not go and start looking for someone to do it for me. So that you like someone, that they embody attributes that you admire, does not necessarily mean that they should be your friend. They can be someone, they can be an ally, they can be someone you learn from, but there might be an aspect of privacy or personal interaction, attachment, or intimacy that they shouldn't have access to. And that's okay. So anyway, they knew these guys for 3 years. Because before they selected, they said, let's choose people that were working with Jesus when we were working with Jesus. That was what Peter said. So they prayed and said, God, you know everyone's heart. Because you don't know everyone's heart. I've shared about the prayer group and being in one heart and one mind. You can literally have a prayer partner that is praying for your prayers not to work. Honestly, but God. So they prayed and they asked God to make that choice for them. It was after they made that prayer that they cast lots. Like, they didn't joke with who they were bringing into their close circle to be part of the 12. They didn't just say, oh, Matthias, he's eloquent. So, come just like that. And that's what we do with our lives. You forget that your life is so important to God that you can't just bring anybody on board. You forget that your destiny, your assignment is God's priority. That we just open up the door and do whatever we like or get ourselves connected to anything without asking God. You need to be intentional. And that still goes back to knowing who you are, because if you know who you are, then your purpose will be the foundation for forming any kind of friendships or connections, especially ones that are supposed to be intimate and provide you with a deep and allow you to connect deeply and connect and I beg your pardon, and connect you to